So Mexico is located south of the United States, bordering the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico. Like most countries, the climate of Mexico varies depending on the topography. In Mexico, there are areas located along the coast, inland, and in higher elevations. Along the coast, it is hot and humid. The areas along the inland are more dry and more temperate. Higher elevations, such as Mexico City, will experience frigid temperatures, especially in the winter. Mexico is the 12th most populated country with around 123 million people living in it. Spanish is spoken in about 92% of the country, and family food and fiestas and arts make up a lot of the Mexican culture. Mariachi style music and dancing is very popular at these certain fiestas, and a large part of their culture is hospitality and comfort. So if you're in Mexico, don't be alarmed by the kind hospitality gestures. Like the United States, the Mexican government is a federal government where powers are divided between legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Local governments also have the power to raise local taxes. The current president of Mexico is Andrés Manuel López Obrador. So there's some evidence for climate change in Mexico. So some watersheds in Mexico were analyzed from 1970 to 2009, and in this they found that the maximum temperature trend showed a significant increment in most of these watersheds. The daily temperature range exhibits a positive trend, thus implying an increase in temperature extremes. And the study also showed that the difference between maximum and minimum monthly temperature trends is negatively correlated with monthly precipitation trends. And the global average sea level has increased by 8 inches since 1880. Several locations along the east coast in the Gulf of Mexico have experienced more than 8 inches of local sea rise in only the past 50 years. Mexico's climate change problem is a domino effect. Climate change is one of the biggest long-term effects Mexico is facing. It has and will be linked to water, health, air pollution, traffic disruption from floods, and housing vulnerability. Since 1960, Mexico has gotten warmer and temperatures are expected to continue rising. Today, millions of people who call Mexico home are facing shortages of adequate water. This lack of water eventually creates a food shortage, and droughts from these increase of evaporation because of greenhouse gases will kill off cattle because of starvation and thirst. A problem for the near future and what many Mexicans are experiencing today is the lack of suitable for crop growth because of the climate change. Mexico is home to a variety of lands, but because of its effects of climate change, Mexico could see a 40 to 7% decrease of crop suitability by 2030. So Mexico has already implemented a carbon tax in 2014. The carbon tax that Mexico has implemented is set at approximately $3.5 differentiated by fuel type. A further reform to the LGCC in 2018 lays the foundation for the establishment of mandatory carbon market by putting in place mechanisms for cost efficiency, MRV, deadlines, and obligations following the pilot phase. Listed below are some strategies Mexico is aiming to implement in the near future. They're supposed to have a 30% GHG emission reduction in 2020 with respect to the baseline, 35% of electricity generation from clean energy sources in 2024, and 50% greenhouse gases emissions reduction in 2050 with respect to 2000 emissions. And these are my sources.